Hello, and welcome back to another episode of From Prison to the Streets. I'm Eric. I did 11 years in prison, and I talk about prison stuff. In this episode, I'm actually going to be answering a comment that was left on one of my videos. I wish I could find the comment and put it up. I've been buried under comments the last few days, but I'm not complaining. I really appreciate you guys interacting with me and leaving your comments. In this comment, somebody asked me what was my biggest takeaway from prison, the biggest lesson I learned. And so we're going to talk about that. Be sure to like and subscribe, and here we go. The biggest takeaway or lesson learned for me coming out of prison after doing 11 years is the importance of an internal source of happiness or an internal source of meaning. And that's huge in prison because you can't control your environment. You have a very limited amount of control. You can't control what you eat, where you live, when you shower, stuff like that. It's all very restricted. And you can't really base your source of happiness externally. For example, I'm going to look at a few things that people have that are external that they use as a source of meaning or happiness sometimes. Let's take family for an example. A lot of people have families, and that defines their life. Their kids, their spouse, maintaining the household, or being an important part of their household. That gives them meaning. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But what do you do if that is where you derive your sense of meaning and happiness? What do you do when all of that is taken away? Let's say you're plucked from your home because of your actions or circumstances around you. You're plucked from your home. You no longer have contact with your family, with your kids, your spouse, your parents. When you're in prison, a lot of that stuff falls off. Relationships decay, people forget about you. Out of sight, out of mind. Loved ones die. And people who define themselves based on that will find themselves lost. Likewise, people who use their material possessions as a source of happiness or meaning would be very disappointed when all of that stuff goes away. You don't have a lot of material things in prison. Your money, your cars, your house, you don't have that stuff. Whatever you have in prison has to fit in 2 little boxes, and it has to be in compliance with the general orders for your prison or the IMPPs, basically stuff that the rules say that you can have. You can have 50 photographs. You can have, a toothbrush, 2 bars of soap, 2 sticks of deodorant, 10 letters. It's all very limited as far as what you can have. Now, just for fun, go take a look at your phone and see how many pictures are in your camera roll. For a lot of you, I imagine it would be more than 50 pictures. Take a look at your messages, whether you use Messenger or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever, or just text messages. Take a look at them. See if you have more than 10 correspondences going, more than 10 conversations. I bet you do. But yeah, material things, if you're relying on that and you go to prison, you're going to find yourself lost because you're not going to have that stuff anymore. Your job. A lot of people who are out there, a lot of people who are watching this, I imagine you have very fulfilling careers. For some of you, maybe your career defines your life. It gives you a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning. What do you have when you can't do that anymore? What if someone today took all that from you? What would you have? What would you do? Would you fall apart? I don't know. But for a lot of people, the answer is yes. Another thing that I'm going to touch on is drugs and alcohol. For a lot of people who have been in really bad situations, they've used drugs or alcohol as a coping mechanism, as a way to make themselves feel happy or to hide the pain, at least for a little bit, stick a band-aid on things. Now in prison, there's still drugs and alcohol. You might not have it all the time though, especially if you get thrown in the hole. And when you don't have it, for a lot of folks, they feel empty. This is some of the stuff that you run into when you look at external sources of happiness and meaning. For me, I began to see that my happiness had to be internal. It had to be within my own thoughts. It had to be within my own heart. And my self-worth, likewise, had to be something that was internal. I had to be self-validating. In other words, I wasn't worthwhile because other people said so. I wasn't a good person because other people said so. I wasn't skilled, competent, or any of these other things because other people said so. I was worthy because I said so. I was internally and self-validating. I recognized that I had intrinsic value as a human being. So whether or not I had material things, or I could control my environment, or I had family, I had myself. And I couldn't control my exterior world, but I could control my mind, and I could control my emotions. My response to my surroundings were within my realm of control. I didn't have to be at the mercy of my environment. Whether I was getting into fights with people, whether my loved ones were dying, whether I was broke, I could choose to be happy. Learning how to do that, learning how to be self-validating, and learning the importance of that, those are my biggest takeaway from prison. If you can learn how to do that, if you can learn how to be self-validating and have an internal locus of control and an internal source of happiness and peace and meaning, nothing's going to get you off track. Nothing is going to derail you. You're not going to be lost. You're not going to be empty. Every day that you live can be meaningful because you can be doing something in your realm of control that is meaningful to you. For some people, that means trusting a higher power. Maybe if you're a Christian, you might say you have Jesus in your heart. But a lot of religious perspectives have something similar to say, finding a sense of internal peace and happiness. And that's where I'm at with it. I believe that there is something of value and of worth in human beings that is outside the realm of what other people say. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you say. It matters what I say about me. The media, whatever, they can look at inmates, criminals, prisoners, convicts, whatever. They can look at those people as bad people, people who don't deserve a second chance, etc. But I'm not defined by them. I'm defined by me and what I believe about myself. So there's that. I hope you guys liked the video. This was kind of a short one, but I felt that it was meaningful and I needed to put this out there for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you found value in it. I'm Eric. This has been another episode of From Prison to the Streets. I'll catch you all later.